Hello, I'm Father Joe Gambala, pastor of St. Malachi Church in Sterling Heights. Welcome to Saints of the Summer. Today is June the 30th, and our saints today are the Holy Martyrs of Rome. Well, let me tell you the story about the Roman Emperor Nero. Nero finally becomes emperor somewhere around the year 60 AD, and Nero, of course, is in Rome. Now, the Rome of Nero in 60 doesn't have the Colosseum. That's not built yet. And some of the those big arches you see there, that's not built yet. And the Senate building, that hasn't been built yet. It's not been built out of stone. In fact, there's hardly anything built out of stone in Rome. Rome is built out of wooden buildings. And the famous sewer system hasn't been built yet. Rome is huge. It has over 1 million people, but it looks like a giant slum is what it looks like. I mean, there's some palaces for some wealthy people on top of some hills so they can escape the smell of the town. And there's some racetracks and things like that. But Nero looks at his great city, and since he's lived there his life, he thinks it's wonderful. He decides to go and tour and see the rest of his empire. Boy, that didn't go well. He goes to Athens, he goes to Ephesus, he goes to Egypt, and he begins to say, wow, look at these beautiful buildings. Look at these big, wide, spacious roads. Look at these boulevards. Look at these columns. Look at these arches built out of stone. It's beautiful. My capital city looks like a dump. So he goes back and he says, how can I be the emperor of this great empire in the world? And my capital city is a whole bunch of wooden buildings and shacks sprawling everywhere, with mostly alleyways instead of roads. So he comes up with a brilliant idea. I'll rebuild the city like one of those cities from the East, only bigger and better because I have all the money of the empire. But how to get rid of all these people? What to do? I really can't spend all my money buying them all out. I know, he says. He takes the Roman soldiers that were in charge of putting out fires, because if you live in a city with all kinds of buildings and everybody's cooking everything over an open fire, you get periodic fires. And they were Roman soldiers trained to fight fires, and orders them on maneuvers outside the city somewhere. And then suddenly this fire starts in Rome on different spots at the same time. And the city goes up in flames, and people are fleeing into the river and other people get burned alive, and other people die of smoke, and other people are pouring out of the city, and Rome burns down. Ah, says Nero, now I have my chance. I can build my brand new beautiful city. Yeah, except the people that got burnt out are not too happy. In fact, they're angry. Mobs are being formed. Now you got to understand, Nero's got soldiers, but they're armed with spears and swords. Well, this mob is much larger than his soldiers, and they got some spears and swords too. This could go very bad for Nero. He's got to do something to placate the mob. So this is what he does. He orders a fleet of ships to sail in, filled with grain and filled with wine, to pass out to the mob. Then he opens up his racetrack for entertainments, and then he finds a scapegoat. He has heard about these Christians. In fact, a couple of them were in town. We talked about them yesterday, Peter and Paul, and some other people there, and he thought, I'll round them up. I'll tell the people it was those Christians. After all, don't they eat flesh and drink blood as part of their ceremony? Yeah, I wonder what that's all about. Sounds pretty weird. I think they're the ones who started the fire. Well, that's the rumor he starts. And of course, it encourages that rumor to spread. The people believe it. They come into this giant racetrack, and they watch St. Peter be crucified, along with a number of the other Christians that were rounded up. And Paul gets beheaded outside of town because he's a Roman citizen, so they didn't crucify Roman citizens. But the martyrs of Rome are remembered for giving up their lives for the faith because of the cruelty and vanity of Emperor Nero.